The object of Taxi Chronicles is to allow real riders with real stories share their experience and enhance your life. So sit back and enjoy the journey. Morning. Yes, we're back with another episode, another rider. Today we have a lovely lady who's just arrived from Pakistan. And interestingly, we're hearing the current affairs and much more about what's going on in Pakistan. But more importantly, we hope we can all learn something and enhance our lives. Nice to have you here today. Shall I call you Sally?
Nice to be obviously being picked up and dropped by you. And I'm glad I'm in safe hands.
Okay, that's good.
I'm exhausted. So some of the things which I might say might be a bit of a jumble, but whatever. Let's just crack on.
So you were saying you had a conversation with your father?
Yes, because I was in Pakistan for 2.5 months and I wasn't working there. I'm a doctor here, so I don't work back in Pakistan.
Okay.
So I was more or less a regular telly person. So I was keeping an eye on things, and it was because my parents were around, so we were talking about like what's happening. So things have changed a lot because when I was there, Afghanistan, so obviously the government of Taliban came into power and there was a lot of debate. There was a lot of stress in Pakistan, like what the future of Pakistan is going to be. But I think the Prime Minister, probably from what we've seen on the news, is that he's taken proactive approach towards it. He started having communications with the Taliban government, recognizing and helping out with setting things up as well. But what I was telling you was that we do have another set of Talibans which are recognized as the Talibans in Pakistan. And as far as I know, they were involved in some of the activities such as the suicide bombing. And at that point they took they admitted, and that's back in 2000, probably 8 and 9. Now, when the government has started forming this coalition with them, the Supreme Court of Pakistan has started questioning it, that how can you be sitting on the same table with the people who've killed Pakistani people, especially, I'm not sure if you've heard about the APS, where the Taliban, they murdered hundreds of kids. And that was, they went into a school. This is an army public school.
Army school?
Army school. And they opened fire on a lot of young kids. And there was a mass murder. That was, but then the Pakistani Taliban accepted that they have done it. And now the Supreme Court of Pakistan is a bit sort of trying to look into it, that why we are talking with the people who've done that in the past. Again, this is...
what's your opinion on this?
Well, I think killing anyone is bad. By anyone is bad. So my opinion is, it's bad. It's not good. We should not be dealing with the people who have admitted that they've committed those crimes. But at the same time, it's the government is always going to look into the political gains rather than trying to find the right or do the right thing, because that's not in their benefit. Again, I'm not saying because I'm not involved in the government, but again, that's probably their political move at the moment, because they know Taliban are getting into power. Mm-hmm. They are quite strong in Afghanistan. We share a very big area with Afghanistan, and these Taliban are already settled there. So it's not even they're moving now. They've been there for 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. So we have got really strong roots of Taliban in Pakistan. Now it's very...
Just to clarify, it's not throughout the whole of Pakistan, is it? It's only a certain region?
It's, mostly northern region where we share the border and the areas around it. So, and at some point, past probably 10 years ago, or when I was in my med school, these areas were no-go areas, so we weren't even allowed, even because I'm from Punjab, so we weren't even allowed to go to those places, because they would look at your ID and they would shoot you. They would shoot you there. So that's the thing. And again, Malala is one of the victims of those Taliban. Mm-hmm. So they were quite strong. They're still very strong, and it's more about supporting each other there. Mm-hmm. So I think it's very difficult for us to get to the bottom of this now, because they're very deeply seated everywhere in the northern parts of Pakistan.
See, you say you have the bad Taliban in Pakistan in the northern region. do they allow children to go to school? Do they allow girls to go to school?
Well, so there again, I did not get a chance to look into or explore all of this. This is all what we've heard from the news. Again, it's a mixture of international media and our Pakistani media. But as far as I know, the people of Afghanistan, which were before Taliban, they were very well educated, very good culture, very traditional. And then the Taliban came in. Again, now we have got the narratives of Western writers and Western journalists, and again some Afghani journalists telling us that what they've done, the abuse of human rights and abuse of children's rights and all of those things, and women rights. So again, I have seen people talk about it, and I've seen people tell us the stories that how they have suffered. But I think Taliban themselves, if it depends on what sort of your own background is. I think general understanding is they don't. They just are. They want to just stay with the Islamic teachings, and they don't acquire international knowledge or what we say is the education system. They want to just keep it to the Islamic education.
Okay, I hear. So.
But again, it's a very controversial topic. I tried to look into it. Again, it all goes back to Osama bin Laden and all of that. And then when the interest grew into Taliban. But if you take out Taliban from the Afghanistan's history, you would find out that Afghanistan, the people are very brave. These are people of mountains. So themselves, they are very well-spirited. They're very good. They're very firm. They are very good built, so they are fighters. So the reason, and I was having this discussion with my father, is like, why Afghanistan, although it's seen so many things, like so many wars, why it's still standing is that purely because they are fighters. So themselves, they are fighters, and if some of them have taken the turn to become a Taliban, then they are going to be really strong in their mindset, and that's something which we can't sort of eliminate. They're very strong-willed, so whatever they're going to do it to the extreme. So I think that's what makes them really, one side of the whole view, and it's very difficult for them to accept the other bits and bobs of the other things.
Because the culture, obviously you've got this group of people, they live in a certain vicinity. Does the locals agree with the rules and regulations the Taliban's come in, or do you know?
Well, I think, again, because I've seen different parts of Pakistan, and again, I'm not sure what your experiences have been, but if you've been in a third world country,
yep,
you would see that they're barely able to live is the main task. They don't question the ideology, they don't question the rights or what is allowed and what's not. If they can provide for their family, if they can have food twice a day, that's the main thing. So when we talk about schooling, acquiring higher skills or more,
it's not really a
priority. Yeah, it's not a priority. The priority is making sure that you get food, making sure you've got some way of earning. Even the earning is agreeing to the powerful people in that particular area. I think I would do that if I'm in that situation. If I have to provide for my family and the only way to work is that accept that ideology, I would do so. So I think that would help any ideology to grow. Is that when you become in power, you can influence people.
If you were the rule maker, how would you solve the situation going forward? Look at that smile. Hey.
I think, when I'm not the Holocaust, right? So whatever happened, there was, at the end, there was still they were held responsible of what they did. Obviously not everyone, and that massacre was what actually happened. So I think if someone has done something, I would still want the law to look into it. I would not, just brush everything under the carpet. It's like, okay, fine, let's start over again. because I don't think it's fair enough to what has happened to the people who were loved ones are killed. There was another, funny enough, there was our Prime Minister's statement when he was called to Supreme Court to explain why he's shaking hands with the Taliban who killed all these kids, and his explanation was that we are still looking into it, it's still being investigated, and we have compensated those families. Now, can you imagine a Prime Minister? And he's Oxford graduate. He's not even someone who is not.
Yeah, most Prime Ministers around the world have been to Oxford or Sandhurst.
Exactly, and so these are not the people which we are saying don't value or not have been taught not to value a human life. And he's saying that we have compensated the deaths of, second standard or third standard kid who went to school and his dead body was brought to the parents. So there was another statement from the parents after that we are really disappointed that we lost our kids, and this is what the Prime Minister's justification is, that we've compensated. So I think it's just, of course, moving forward, have good relationships with them, because we have to stabilize the region. We don't want more murders, we don't want more deaths, but at the same time, it's just that, unless you address it, it will keep happening. They would once something goes against their will, they're going to go ahead and use force and use power again, and they know that they're not accountable. It's just like trying to kill a bad habit. And if they know that, I think there should have been a UN case rather than Pakistan to deal with it, because that's the human rights. So sometimes they do.
I'm not a fan of the UN, especially the ICC, because I think a lot of the Western governments should be held to account, even before these other countries. But it's the old colonial thing. So I wouldn't. On that would be my statement for that.
I think it all comes down to the point where, when I was young, and I used to think, like, what is politics? Why people are so involved and interested into it? But it's just a man-made fiction, isn't it? So when you want to have good terms and relationship with someone, you would overlook everything, and you would try to sort of bring in the investments. So at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Isn't that about leadership, though?
What the
leadership is about making the tough decisions, regardless of. Or I'll give you an example. You can be at war with a country, and then there's peace. Now all the foot soldiers who were fighting have to get on with the ones who were their enemies now. And you can't be saying, well, you did kill my best friend or my brother.
Yeah.
So now I want to carry this war on.
Yeah.
You've got to look at the thing. So I kind of hear what the president's saying, but I don't think compensate was the word.
Yeah, I think in a bigger, it's not even about like what person to person, it's a bigger things that they have to look at, and they have to maintain that political relationship and the peace in that region. But I think at the same time, you can overlook things, you can say, okay, fine, I'm doing it just to keep the peace. But there are certain things where you actually have to make a point, and then you don't have to use force or just take law.
Some people don't understand if you don't use force.
Because law, you don't have to. I don't have to go and kill someone in the face saying that you did wrong to me. I would ask the law to.
But what's the law going to do?
That's again, we can't do everything.
No, this is what I said. This is why I asked you.
That's what they've got a job to do.
No, but what is the law going to do? Your child, you got children?
No, I don't. No.
Okay, so your child, or you got a partner?
Yeah.
Okay, so your partner's been killed.
Yeah.
Yeah? And you want some justice because you plan to have children and all the rest of it, yeah? So, what would you expect the law to do to give you justice?
Just find the person who did that.
Okay, we know they said they did it.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? What do you want us to do?
Well, no, I think and I think this is my previous experiences, is that no matter what, as far as even slight remorse or an apology, okay, this is just basics. This is like a tiny thing I'm talking about. I'm not talking about murder or anything. But I think it's just realizing you've done something wrong.
Okay.
And then again, obviously, if it comes to the point where someone say, well, would you want us to hang this person? I would say, fine, that's a bit way too much. Obviously, he has hurt me in a really bad way.
So you don't believe in capital punishment?
No, I don't think so.
The world is shaped by those who do.
What
the world has been shaped by those who do.
But
believe in capital
that's
punishment.
again. But this is like, I am a person who's studied for so many years in our. It's a personal opinion. Not everyone. This is just a.
I'm just
theory.
quoting
Yeah,
some
theory.
Historical facts. That's all. But go on.
No, this is like a theory we're talking about. But you know, if I'm, God forbid, if I'm put in that situation, I think my reaction would be way higher, or way, let's say dramatic, than this what I'm talking about. Because right now I'm just calm and sitting in a car, someone's driving me around, so I can say that. But I think it takes a very big person to forgive someone.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, forgiving someone without even getting an apology, or saying that your loved one's murder has been compensated. I think that's.
Do you think you'll ever forgive that situation?
I've seen people forgive that. I'm not personally, because I haven't experienced it. I'm not sure, but I've seen people, and I admire that. But again, the other religious debate about there's a higher power above, which is going to take the revenge anyway. So you leave, and I've seen, Pakistan is full of all these cases where someone has been murdered, and the murderer is just walking around, and they've got nothing they can do to hold him accountable. So then they leave it for the higher power to sort it out. And I think that brings the peace. And I've seen people moving on with their lives, doing something different and good, or becoming, at least I think I've seen people change in a good way. But I think I've seen the people who want to take the revenge, and again, I've not been put in that situation where I would want to take a revenge. They become bitter, and I think that creates more imbalance.
It's a lot of energy to be bitter.
Yeah. But then, so there was a film when I was in my first or second year I've started working after my graduation, and we were having this discussion with one of my friends in London, and he's white, and he obviously has been here, never been abroad, or have seen the things from the distance. So he watched this movie where they explained how Talibans were created. Not that the Taliban's US aided, but the Talibans who were purely created because they wanted to take a revenge. So in a bomb blast, one's trying to kill the other, there's collateral damage. Mm-hmm. So someone's mother, father, or whole families were killed, and they did not want to do anything else with their life, just to take a revenge, and they become suicide bombers because they had nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. So that, and then again, probably there's a lot of theories about people saw that as a vulnerability and started training people on those bases, like, oh, look what they've done to your family, or look what they've done to your country, and you have to fight back, and you have to be you have to take a suicide bomb, become a suicide bomber. So again, I think I'm glad that you brought this up, that what's the solution? There's always no solution. There's always, so? Yeah, it's all about negotiation. It's all about...
But isn't negotiation a solution?
That might be a solution. Yeah, okay, it depends in that particular time period.
Because you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong here, that the person, you want to see some remorse.
Yeah.
But if you did something based on the Terrorism Act or freedom, however they want to see it, then why would you have remorse? So there's a high likelihood that you wouldn't have remorse.
But that's, if someone's, go on.
So on the same sense, if you're the government, these people can go and kill many more schools, many more children in schools. So it's okay, we've lost this, it's like a game of chess, which is, comes from your region of the world. We've lost this, but...
let's just prevent.
To moving on, we've got a lot more children we need to protect. The only way we're going to protect them if we sit down with these crazy people.
Yeah.
And when you and I shouldn't use the word crazy because crazy is dismissive,
Yeah.
but once you sit down with people and they sit down with you, they get confide in you, they kind of build a rapport that they don't necessarily want to do what they're doing because they kind of like you, even if they didn't want to like you, they kind of like you. And
I think it was at that point, again, when they did that, and again, law does look into all of that. What were the circumstances when that particular event happened, and they wanted to be heard. But coming to your point of saying that why would they have remorse? Because if I think killing someone because they've done wrong to me, or let's suppose I do not like them or whatever, in my head, I think I'm still right. So why would I apologize? But I think it just comes down to trying to teach people that every human life is important. And when you take one, it comes down to law. I'm not the one deciding on this. Is that I want law to look into the evidences and the circumstances when that particular event happened, and to see if that was justified. Sometimes, obviously, abusive relationship, self-defense, you kill someone, but that's not a remorse. That's what you did in your self-defense. But again, this can be played in a lot of ways. I think I agree with that when you said that negotiating and keeping not good terms, but at least hearing them, what they have to say, because we can't get rid of them. We know that. So we have to build a relationship where there is no more damage.
the Americans just found that out the other day.
Sorry, what?
The Americans just realised that the other day.
Yeah.
They said, we've been funding the Northern Alliance and they're not up to speed. And we need someone who can control. Now, people don't like Trump. I don't agree with everything he says, but I did like certain things he did when he was in office. He sat down with Kim Jong-un in North Korea, which another American president done, and that actually is the start of building a relationship. Yeah, and North Korea will look at America different because of what Trump did. And the other factor is where with the Taliban and the Northern Alliance, he said, well, if after 20 years you can't help yourself, even with us here, we might as well sit down with the Taliban and negotiate. But what I'm thinking is where you have the Taliban in Islamabad or the northern part, that you can easily allow them to have a little section of their own.
Yeah.
But you still show them that you answer to us, that you can live your way, and you say to the locals, anybody who don't want to live like this, you can come over to where we are.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Where there's pride, because some people don't want to be seen to move, and other people don't want to be seen to, governments don't want to be seen to be negotiating to that scale, because what will happen then, you could get other fractions who will say, well, we're going to do the same. Yeah. And that's the fear.
Yes, I think, again, it's just, we did have one, he was the president, Musharraf, I'm not sure if you heard about him, but in that time, America wanted him to clear out the Taliban. So he did a lot of operations, silent operations, where he actually just killed everyone, the Taliban. So again, it depends on...
the Taliban had always been his enforcer though, weren't they? Now, I think if that's the president you were talking about, is during the start of the Afghan campaign, when there's Americans were searching for Bin Laden.
Yeah, he was the one in power.
And he, was it ISIS? Yeah, he had ISIS in, was it ISIS? They had some Taliban who were on his side in a sense. If he left the Taliban alone, they would make sure everybody voted for him, basically, like that. And that was the understanding from what I've researched.
Okay.
And an American wanted him to go against the Taliban, and he was making out he's going against them, but he's not really, because he's thinking long term, Americans aren't going to be here forever, as we all...
Yeah, so we have to think about,
So we've got to be on a good basis with them.
Ourselves,
but let's be seen to be...
Yeah, but I think what he did was, he did, I think, 2 or 3 operations which were really massive. So there was one in the capital, where there's a Islamic Studies institution where, well, those people started retaliating. So he did a massive operation there behind the doors. Loads of people were killed because they were not abiding by his sort of, or they were trying to create. He said it was a terrorism. Then he did another one in Gilgit, where in those days we weren't allowed to go to Gilgit because we are Punjabi, of course. So he locked down.
Sorry, what's the difference between why? Because you're
It's a province. So we've got 4 provinces.
Aren't you Muslim?
So we are all Muslim. So it's just about, let's say, so the northern people, they like each other, right? So and then we become more central. We are more south. So we are Punjab, and then the most southern part of Pakistan is Karachi, which falls under Sindh. So that's another province. So it's at that point, because they did not want anyone involved. So they just wanted either their northern people, which are, Gilgit.
So you can't go up there to visit?
During that time. Before that, basically all these parts are really beautiful, and they're massive. They form a very big part of Pakistani tourism. They wanted to damage the economy, and they wanted to show that they are in power. So they started creating this, let's say, a sort of terror around there, that we won't allow you to come into our areas. So they basically declared those areas as no-go areas, and so you're not allowed to visit those areas. And if you do, so if you are, the only way they could check if you are from local or not is that they will look at your ID. And if your ID card says that you're from Pakistan, you're from Punjab province or any other province, you'll be shot. They're going to kill you on the spot. So it became that strict at one point. So then I think they were gaining power. Musharraf did not like it because he does not want to lose his command on the country, which I think is understandable. Let's suppose someone comes into UK and wants to take over the power, they're going to fight back. So that's what he did. He held a big operation there, killed loads of Taliban, cleared the area out, and that obviously sent a message to the rest of the Taliban that we are going to fight back. So don't intervene, kind of message.
Do you think they listened?
I think these were the Taliban which were not on our side. So as I said, we've got a few different forms of Taliban. So Taliban which were part of Al-Qaeda. Then there are local Afghani Taliban which just want to live their normal life but under Islamic rules. Then we've got Afghani people who just want to live their life. Then there are the Taliban who came over to Pakistan, and they have their...
Those are the ones from Saudi? Because I heard...
Saudi is the Al-Qaeda.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Al-Qaeda is Saudi Taliban, which are Bin Laden and all of those people. Yeah. But then again, the thing is, whoever gained power or became famous, people started joining them. So it's a bit of a big mix.
Yeah, because they got the money.
Yeah, exactly. They got the funding. They're supporting the weapons.
We hope that episode enhanced your life. We post an interview every day as well as vlogging on our social media channels. Don't forget to subscribe to get our latest episode.